The rain was heavy that night. It hit the broken street lights and old buildings like angry fingers. The city was quiet, too quiet, as if even the noise was afraid to exist. Evan sat alone in his small apartment. The room was simple. One table, one chair, one bed. The screen on the wall showed news he was not watching. He was tired from work, tired from life, tired from being invisible. Then he heard it. A knock. It was weak, slow, almost unsure. Evan froze. No one ever knocked on his door this late. He checked the time. Past midnight. His heart beat faster. The knock came again, louder this time but still careful. Knock! Knock! Evan stood up and moved toward the door. He did not open it. He looked through the small door camera. First he saw nothing. Only darkness and rain. Then something moved. A figure stood under the broken hallway light. It was tall, thin, and shaking. Long dark hair covered part of its face. His clothes were torn and soaked. Thick dirt covered its skin, mixed with strange dark stains that did not look human. Evan's breath stopped. It was not human. The woman outside lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were not normal. They reflected the light in a sharp, silver way. She looked tired, broken, scared. The speaker near the door made a soft sound. Human, she said. Her voice was low and rough, like she had not spoken in a long time. I need help. Evan stepped back. His hands shook. Everyone knew aliens existed. Everyone knew they were not allowed to walk freely on Earth. When aliens came, governments came too. Soldiers followed. People disappeared. Another knock. Please, the alien woman said. I will not hurt you. Evan's mind raced. He thought about closing the door forever. He thought about calling the authorities. He thought about pretending no one was there. Then she spoke again. I only have $3, she said slowly, as if the words were hard to say. Please let me clean myself. Please. Evan looked down at the floor. $3. That was nothing. That was less than a cup of cheap coffee. Less than a meal. Less than safety. He looked at her again through the camera. Her body shook from cold or pain or both. Blood, or something like blood, ran down her arm and mixed with rain. Suddenly, the lights outside flickered. The alien woman's eyes widened. Fear filled her face, real and deep. They are here, she whispered. If they see me, they will scan you. They will scan this place. Evan did not understand. What do you mean? He asked through the door. Her voice dropped even lower. They will mark your world, she said. They will decide if Earth lives or burns. A deep hum filled the air. Evan felt it in his bones. From the window, he saw shadows move across the clouds. Black shapes floated silently in the sky. Not planes. Not drones from Earth. Something else. The hum grew louder. The alien woman stepped closer to the door. She pressed her hand against it. Her skin was... Evan closed the door fast. The lock clicked, loud in the quiet room. His hands shook as he leaned against the wall. The noise outside was gone. No hum, no shadows, only rain. The alien woman stood in his small apartment, water dripping from her clothes onto the floor. She looked around slowly, as if the room was something rare. Her eyes moved from the old table to the cracked wall, then to Evan. This place is small, she said. Yeah, Evan answered. That's Earth. She did not smile. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp. Too sharp for someone who claimed to be weak. Evan pointed toward the bathroom. You said you wanted to clean. She nodded once. Yes, water is important. It hides many things. That answer made Evan pause. He did not ask more. He just opened the bathroom door and stepped back. The bathroom was tiny. One light flickered above the mirror. The floor was cracked. The shower curtain was old and thin. Evan felt ashamed for a moment. Then he felt foolish. An alien did not care about human pride. She stepped inside. Her movements were slow, but careful. Not clumsy. Controlled. I will not be long, she said. You may watch the door. Evan turned away as she closed the curtain. He sat on the edge of his bed, his heart still racing. His mind screamed at him to stop this, to push her out, to run. Then the water started. First it was quiet, just the sound of water hitting the floor. Then Evan heard something else. A soft sound, almost like a low hum. The lights flickered again. Evan stood up. "Hey," he said. "Is everything okay in there?" "Yes," she replied. "The water is kind." The hum grew louder. The air felt heavy. The mirror in the hallway began to fog even though the bathroom door was closed. Evan walked closer. The sound from inside changed. The water no longer hit the floor. It hit something solid. The light behind the curtain began to glow. Blue lines appeared through the thin plastic. They moved, slow and smooth, like living light. Evan stepped back. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I am becoming visible," she said calmly. The glow grew brighter. Symbols appeared on the curtain. Shapes Evan had never seen before. Circles inside lines. Marks that looked ancient and powerful. The water stopped. The curtain moved. The alien woman stepped out. She was clean now. The dirt and blood were gone. Her skin was smooth, pale, and marked with glowing blue symbols that covered her arms, neck, and back. Her eyes shone like silver fire. She stood tall, not weak, not scared, strong. Evan could not speak. "You were afraid," she said. "That is natural. But you did not lie. You did not strike. You did not call your guards." Evan swallowed. What are you?" She looked at him for a long moment. "My name cannot be spoken in your language," she said. "But you may call me Sailra." She touched her chest. The symbols faded slightly. "I am not a beggar," Sailra said. "I am not lost. I am not hunted." Evan's morning light entered the apartment through the dirty window. It was weak and gray. Evan had not slept. He sat on the chair holding a cold cup of water. Across from him, Sailra stood near the wall, silent and still, like she did not need rest. The glowing marks on her skin were gone. She looked human now except for her eyes. They still held that sharp silver shine. "You said they would see me," Evan said quietly. "What does that mean?" Sailra turned her head slowly. "It means you are no longer invisible." Evan laughed once, short and nervous. "I've been invisible my whole life." "That is the lie," Sailra replied. She walked toward the window and looked outside. Cars moved. People walked. Life continued, unaware. Her voice was calm, but heavy. "The galaxy believes humans are weak," she said. "Short lives, soft bodies, loud emotions. You fight each other over lines on dirt." Evan frowned. "Sounds about right." Sailra looked back at him. "That is what the reports say. That is what they want to believe." She raised her hand, and a small light appeared above her palm. It formed a shape like a floating screen. Stars filled the air. Thousands of them. Lines connected worlds. "This is known space," she said. "And this is Earth." A small blue dot blinked. "For hundreds of cycles," Sailra continued, "powerful species have watched you from far away. They do not speak to you. They do not trade with you. They only observe." Evan leaned forward. "Why?" "Because you are strange," she answered. "You build weapons before cures. You argue, but you dream. You fall, but you stand again." The image changed. Scenes appeared. Humans helping strangers. Humans fighting disasters. Humans sharing food when they had little. "You call these things normal," Sailra said. "The galaxy calls them dangerous." Evan stared. "Dangerous?" "Yes," she said, "because you help without command. You sacrifice without reward. That behavior cannot be controlled." The light vanished. "I was sent to confirm something," Sailra said. "A rumor." Evan's stomach tightened. "What rumor?" "That humans only help when it benefits them." Silence filled the room. Sailra walked closer. "So I came to your world in secret. No guards. No power. No authority." Evan looked at the $3 on the table. "You came to test me," he said. "I came to test humanity," she replied. Evan stood up. anger flashing in his eyes. You lied to me. Yes, Sailra said. And you still helped. His anger faded. He sat back down slowly. Sailra's voice softened. You had nothing to gain. You risked everything. Evan rubbed his face. I just didn't want someone to suffer outside my door. Sailra nodded. That answer frightens empires. A low sound rolled through the air. Not loud. Not violent. Just present. Sailra stiffened. They are watching more closely now, she said. The walls shimmered for a moment, then returned to normal. What happens next? Evan asked. Sailra looked at him with something close to respect. Now they decide if humans are a resource or a threat. Evan laughed again, this time bitter. Over one night? Sailra shook her head. Over thousands of years. Tonight was simply the proof. She raised her hand again. The stars returned, but this time the city did not wake up that morning. It held its breath. Evan stood at his window and watched the street below. People moved slower than usual. Some looked up at the sky. Others checked their devices again and again, confused by missing signals and strange static. Behind him, Sailra stood still. She did not need to look outside to know what was coming. They have entered high orbit, she said quietly. They are no longer hiding. Evan turned to her. Can they see you? No, Sailra answered. But they can see everything else. A deep vibration passed through the building. Not an explosion. Not an attack. Just pressure. Like the sky was pressing down. Evan's phone buzzed. Then it went dark. All networks are being tested, Sailra said. They are measuring response time, fear levels, obedience. Evan clenched his jaw. Like animals. Sailra looked at him. Like future tools. A sharp knock hit the door. 3 hard strikes. Loud. Commanding. Evan froze. Sailra stepped closer. Her eyes narrowed. Human authorities, she said. They have been informed. The knock came again. Open the door, a voice called. Security check. Evan felt his heart slam against his chest. He looked at Sailra. If they see you, they will take me, she said, and mark your species as compliant. Evan swallowed. And if I don't open it? They will force entry, Sailra replied, and mark your species as hostile. Evan stared at the door. 2 choices, both terrible. He walked forward anyway. He opened it. 2 officers stood outside. Black uniforms. Cold eyes. Behind them, a hovering drone blinked red. Sir, one officer said. We received a report of unusual activity. Evan nodded. Yeah, the power keeps going out. The drone moved closer, scanning. Sailra stood in the back of the room, hidden by shadow. The drone paused. Its light flickered. Evan felt sweat run down his neck. Then something strange happened. The officer behind the drone reached out and lowered it. Scan error, he said. Move on. The other officer frowned but nodded. They left. Evan closed the door slowly and leaned against it. What just happened? He whispered. Sailra stared at the door, surprised. They ignored me, she said. Evan looked at her. Ignored. They should have seen me, she said. Their systems are perfect. Another vibration passed through the floor. Then a shout from outside. Evan rushed to the window. Down on the street, a crowd had formed. People were arguing with soldiers. Someone had blocked a road with a broken car. Others stood beside them, arms crossed, refusing to move. Sailra joined him at the window. What are they doing? She asked. Evan watched as more people stepped forward. Old, young, rich, poor. They're saying no, he said. The sound of voices grew louder. Angry but not violent. Determined. Sailra's eyes widened. This is not planned, she said. No leader gave this order. Evan shook his head. They don't need one. Below, a soldier raised his weapon. A woman stepped in front of it. I live here, she said. You don't. The silence after the voice faded was heavy. Too heavy. Evan felt it pressing on his chest like invisible hands. Outside, the crowd did not cheer. They did not run. They simply stayed where they were, calm and unmoving. Soldiers shifted their weight, unsure. Drones hovered, blinking, confused by the lack of fear. Sailra closed her eyes. The blue marks on her skin returned, soft and steady. They are arguing now, she said. Who? Evan asked. The councils, she replied. The minds that decide the fate of worlds. Evan looked at her. Over this. Sailra opened her eyes. Over everything. She raised her hand, and the air above her palm rippled. A faint image appeared. Tall figures sat in a circle of light. Their shapes were sharp and strange. Their voices overlapped, cold and fast. Human response does not match threat models. Nonviolent resistance detected. Emotional spread exceeds prediction. The image vanished. They do not understand this, Sailra said. Their scanners measure weapons, numbers, and fear. They cannot measure choice. Evan leaned against the wall. So what happens now? Sailra looked toward the window. They search for leaders. Below, soldiers moved through the streets, asking questions. Cameras turned. Names were requested. But there are none, Evan said. Sailra nodded slowly. That is the problem. Another low vibration passed through the building. This one felt different. Not pressure. Confusion. They are trying to remove the cause, Sailra said. They believe this began with one human. Evan's stomach dropped. Me. Yes, she said softly. Before Evan could speak, his door shook. Not a knock this time. A heavy strike. Evan Miller, a voice called. Open the door immediately. Evan looked at Sailra. Fear returned, sharp and cold. If they take me, he said, tell them the truth. Sailra stepped closer. The truth is already spreading. Another strike hit the door. Evan opened it. Four soldiers stood there, armed, serious. You are to come with us, the leader said. For questioning. Evan nodded. Okay. Sailra moved forward. I am his guest, she said calmly. The soldiers froze. Their scanners screamed. Lights flashed red. Weapons lifted, then lowered, then lifted again. The leader swallowed. Stand down, he said. All of you. Sailra's eyes glowed bright silver. I am Observer Sailra of the Third Council, she said. Her voice filled the room without shouting. This human acted without knowledge of my status. The soldiers stepped back, shaken. You are not permitted here, the leader said. Sailra tilted her head. Neither are you by galactic law. Silence. Sailra turned to Evan. This is the moment, she said. Not for power, for truth. She raised her hand, and the walls disappeared. The apartment was gone. The city was gone. Evan stood in light. Before him stood the council. Massive, silent, watching. This human is insignificant, one voice said. One life does not define a species. Sailra did not bow. Correct, she said. That is why he matters. Images filled the space. The city slowly began to breathe again. Lights turned back on, one building at a time. Phones buzzed with missed messages. People stepped out of their homes, looking at the sky as if it might answer their questions. Inside the apartment, Evan sat on the edge of his bed. His hands still shook. Across from him, Sailra leaned against the wall. The glow on her skin was fading, weaker than before. You look tired, Evan said. Sailra nodded. Speaking against the councils has a cost. Evan stood up. What kind of cost? She met his eyes. For the first time since she arrived, there was fear in them. I was sent to observe, she said. Not to interfere. Not to protect. Evan's chest tightened. What happens now? Sailra took a slow breath. Now I must choose. The air grew still. No hum. No vibration. Just silence. If I report honestly, Sailra continued, Earth will be marked as dangerous, watched forever, restricted. And if you lie? Evan asked. Sailra looked away. Then I become a traitor to my people. Evan ran a hand through his hair. You already spoke for us. That was argument, she said. This is judgment. She raised her hand, and the familiar light appeared. but this time it flickered, unstable. "They are waiting," she said, "for my final report." Evan felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. "So all of this comes down to you?" Sailra shook her head slowly. "No. It comes down to what you showed me." She looked around the room again. The cracked walls. The old table. The $3 still lying there. "In my world," she said softly, "no one would open a door for a stranger with nothing to offer." Evan shrugged. "Guess we're bad at math." Sailra almost smiled. A sharp tone filled the room. Not loud, but clear. "The channel is open," she said. The light expanded, filling the apartment. The walls faded once more. The council appeared. Their forms were sharper now, more focused, less patient. "Observer Sailra," a voice said. "Deliver your conclusion." Sailra straightened. She looked calm, but Evan could see the tension in her hands. "Humans are unpredictable," another voice said. "State their value." Sailra paused. "They are not valuable," she said. Evan's heart dropped. "They are priceless," she continued. The council reacted instantly. Waves of sound rippled through the space. "Clarify." Sailra lifted her chin. "Humans do not act for reward," she said. "They act for meaning. They resist without command." The ships left without sound. No fire, no light, no warning. They simply folded into the dark and vanished, as if the sky had decided to forget them. The city did not celebrate. People stood in the streets and looked upward, unsure if it was truly over. News screens flickered back to life, full of confused voices and broken explanations. No one had answers. Inside the small apartment, Evan sat at his table. Morning light touched the 3 damp dollar bills still lying there. They had dried crooked and thin, worth almost nothing. Across the room, Sailra stood by the window one last time. "It is finished," she said softly. Evan nodded. "They're really gone?" "Yes," she replied. "Earth has been marked." He tensed. "As what?" Sailra turned to him, her silver eyes calm. "As untouchable." Evan blinked. "That's good, right?" Sailra gave a small smile. "It is the highest status a young species can earn." She walked back to the table and looked at the $3. "In the records," she said, "this moment will not be listed as a battle." Evan leaned back in his chair. "Figures. It will be listed as a refusal," Sailra continued. "The day humans were offered fear and declined." Outside, life slowly returned. Cars moved. Children laughed. People argued over small things again. The world moved on. "That's it then?" Evan asked. "We just go back to normal?" Sailra shook her head. "Normal has changed." She raised her hand one last time. A soft image appeared. Not the council, not the stars. A symbol, a simple mark of protection. "Any fleet that approaches Earth will see this," she said, "and they will turn away." Evan studied it. "Why?" Sailra's voice grew quiet. "Because the galaxy does not fear human weapons," she said. "It fears what humans do when they have none." Evan laughed under his breath. "All this? Because I opened a door?" "Yes," Sailra said. "Because you chose mercy when it was not required." She lowered her hand. The symbol vanished. "It is time for me to leave," she said. Evan stood quickly. "Where will you go?" Sailra looked toward the sky. "Somewhere between worlds. Somewhere quiet." Evan hesitated. "You could stay. People would help." Sailra smiled sadly. "That is exactly why I cannot." She stepped closer and placed the $3 back in his hand. "I did not pay you for water," she said. "I paid you for reminding me what courage looks like." Evan closed his fingers around the bills. "Will we see you again?" he asked. Sailra looked at him for a long moment. "When humanity steps into the stars," she said, "I will be watching." A soft light surrounded her. Not bright, not loud, just gentle. The room felt warm. Then she was gone. Evan stood alone in his apartment. The silence felt different now. Lighter. He sat back down and placed the $3 on the table again. Outside, the city continued as if nothing had happened. But far beyond Earth, in places humans could not yet see, records were updated. Warnings were added. Notes were shared. Humans, do not invade. Do not threaten. Do not test. Not because they are the strongest, but because they help strangers. Because they stand together without orders. Because when the galaxy knocked on their door, humans answered. And that is why the galaxy learned to fear them.